Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is another version and edition of South Texas News and Reviews. This is on April the 12th, of Sunday, 2015, and I'm going to go and discuss a few things in detail, I hope, and see if we can't clean this thing up just a little bit for one of my viewers out there. We'll see if we can put it in a little bit more logical progression for you, sir. Alright, I'm going to go take my seat. It's recording. I'm going to turn the big lights on up here so I can blind myself over here when I get around the corner and into my little cubby hole here, as they call it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jerry Sansing again with another edition of South Texas News and Reviews. And I just wanted to let you know I'm wearing my Clean Economy Coalition t-shirt again with the windmills on it. I've got some items to discuss about Clean Economy Coalition. And this weekend there was the Earth Day Bay Day celebration, I should say, and get together down at Heritage Park. Now, I was down there manning a table to hand out information about various things along with some of the other members of the organization. And what I've done is I've got the issues that we brought up with the public, and what we're asking people to do is call their city, county, state, and so forth, national representatives about certain issues that we have concerns about. And I hope that those concerns would be your concerns also, because this does impact us in Corpus Christi, Texas dramatically. So I'm going to go ahead. Now, this is Clean Economy Coalition requests of people. There were 7 of these, and I'll just run through them right quick. Okay, we urge to contact city councilmen, and we've got the city council members here. You can go online and get them, or call the city hall and get the contact numbers for these representatives. But we urge the Corpus Christi City Council to drop its opposition to the proposed Apex Clean Energy Wind Farm planned for the Chapman Ranch region south of Corpus Christi. It will not interfere with naval station operations. This project will provide jobs and low-emission energy for our community. The city's desire to annex this region as a residential area is misplaced. It is prone to flooding. Additionally, residential expansion into this region will increase the city's infrastructure cost at a time when we are struggling to maintain the city's existing infrastructure. Now that means streets, sewer lines, and so forth and so on. And I'll discuss the sewer problems we've got around here. Escherichia coli, commonly known as E. coli, a bacterium that's in the bays over here every time it rains, and the sources of those. And you know, I'm on a tear to find out where the source of those enteric bacteria are. That means intestinal. Okay. And it's usually fecal borne, if you know what I'm talking about. So that's one of the items that we are asking people to do. And then contact your legislators. The House Bill 1865, submitted by Mr. Morrison, would limit the contested case period for permits to 6 months. Now what that means is when a permit through Texas Commission on Environmental Quality is applied for, then there is a certain period of time at which you can go ahead and ask for the courts and TCEQ and other people to take a look at that, and you can contest that in what's called a contested court hearing. And let me back up on this one just for a minute and make it clear what I'm talking about, so I'm not jumping around. The Clean Economy Coalition was formed almost 6 years ago. And I guess it was in the vein when Las Brisas Energy Center came to town and applied for air permits, and they were going to build a large power plant out here that was fueled by petroleum coke, which is the gunk that's left over after the refinery process. There's a lot of it out here. They said they were going to burn all of that stuff up and remove it from our general ecosystem around here. But the pollution is horrible, folks. That's almost as bad, maybe even worse in my mind as a chemist, than burning coal. And you know how nasty that can be. So the pollution that they were going to propose by their own numbers would increase our pollution in this area by 70%. above what we've got with fineries and other industries around this area, and put us into non-attainment, which the city's now all in a flap about, from kind of ozone blowing down from Houston, and that's hard to do with the prevailing southeast winds, so I'm not so sure where that fear comes from. But we, as the group Clean Economy Coalition, along with Environmental Defense Fund, Sierra Club, did protest that through contested case hearings. And after many years in court battles and so forth, we were able to have the state agree with us in the courts that that's not a good idea to have that plant here, and they backed off and went away. Okay, so what the legislators are trying to do, since most of them are in business with businesses like the Las Brisas Energy System people, they're interested more in making money than they are protecting you from your health. And a lot of these politicians know the way I feel about it. I'm very vocal about that, particularly on this show. So what we're trying to do is not have the House Bill 1865, which would shorten the period of time and limit permits to 6 months. We need to be able to go for the long run. Okay, so let's don't limit that, and it should be increased to 9 months and maybe even longer. So we've got the appropriate legislators down here, representatives, state senators, and so forth, to call. And you can call your local person and tell them that you don't want the contested case hearings monkeyed with to protect the citizens and not big money in industries. Then we've got one that's the Senate bill by Frazier again, 931, would repeal Texas's landmark renewable portfolio standard, which has been so successful in making Texas a leader in wind and other renewable energy productions. The bill would provide disincentives toward the development of renewable energy sources, like Apex Energy out here in the city, trying to annex all the Chapman Ranch out there and prevent this large wind farms from going in. And they've used some pretty lame excuses, like interfering with the air traffic around here, the naval air traffic. Navy says no, that's not true. And then interfering with cable TV and regular TV and so forth, and that's not true. So, it's just a land grab for the developers to make a lot of money. So if you want to pay for that, then you just sit there and don't go out and vote, and you don't voice your opinion. But you may want to go ahead and get a hold of the locals around here, the senators, and urge them tomorrow to not monkey around with that, so that we do have the right for clean energy around here. Then we've got House Bill 40 by Darby, would strip local governments of their authority to implement common sense health and safety protections like drilling setbacks, pipeline siting restrictions, and industrial traffic management. Our legislators should defend, not thwart, a local government's right to protect citizens' health and safety. The Senate version of the bill, SB 1165 by Frazier, again includes similar language against local ordinances. So I think that we ought to be able to say, hey, we don't want fracking under our town. This has happened before in other places. And we need to, as a local entity, be able to instill our own local laws to protect our health and safety, and not just Mr. Frazier to protect his large corporation interests and so forth. I've never met the man. I'm going to start looking him up and find out what he's made out of. I think I already know from what he's proposing, but I won't comment any further than that. And then House Bill 3810 by Wally relates to an alert for the notification of release of toxic chemicals by a manufacturing facility. This bill establishes a statewide alert system to notify local residents of a chemical release if it is dangerous, local health and safety. All right, it's been referred to as Environmental Regulation Committee. So what they want to do is, we need to alert people if we've got, especially here with the refineries, folks. There's some really nasty chemicals that can be released from a refinery. Hydrofluoric acid is one of them, and then we've got benzene releases and all kinds of chemicals and so forth. And we need a system to alert the general public if one of those occurs, so we can protect ourselves. And then it says Senate Bill 1787 by Garcia is the identical Senate companion bill. It has been referred to the Senate Natural Resources and Economic Development Committee. Senators Hinojosa, Zaffirini, and Lucio are members of this committee. Now, another thing that happened is when the fertilizer plant blew up not long ago in West Texas, the fire people did not know what other chemicals could have been involved there because the company didn't have to let the general public know of any potential hazards up there, which held back the ability of the firefighters to go in and take care of business. So, you know, I'm sure you don't want that, folks. So let's make a bill that says that yes, all industries in the community have to let you know if they have chemicals that, if they do escape, can do great harm to you, and then provide a method to let you know if and when that happens. You know, don't like to see it happen, but in this world we've got things like that are a problem. And then we've got House Bill 2425 from E. Rodriguez, would establish a 5-cent redemption on plastic and aluminum beverage containers in Texas. It would reduce can and bottle litter, particularly along the coast, by incentivizing people to return these containers for the redemption. Now, I remember as a kid, I couldn't believe that people would throw glass bottles, the Coke, Pepsi, Knee-High, and Dr. Pepper and so forth, down on the sidewalk and on the streets and in people's lawns and gutters. And I would go along on my bicycle that had a big basket on the front, and I'd collect those bottles, and this was in Virginia, and then I would take those over to the grocery store and turn them in for cash. And that provided me, and you know, 2 cents a bottle, if you got a couple of hundred of those, folks, then you know you can go to the movies or whatever in those days and times. But what we're trying to do in Texas is to get that 5 cents. Many states have got them, and it's very successful for keeping bottles and cans up off the roadways, which means kids like me that wanted to go to the movies and have a few extra bucks in my pocket could turn those bottles and cans in for money, and that incentivized us to go pick them up. Okay, that was Clean Economy Coalition, the proposals that we'd like to see dealt with by you people calling your senators, representatives, city council people, and so forth. In addition, yesterday at the Earth Day, Bay Day activities, the city of Corpus Christi, the water people down there had some bags and so forth they were giving away, tote bags. And then in there they had different reports, like the 2013 Annual Drinking Water Quality Report, and it says a superior rated water system. I've got a few issues with that as a chemist, but I'll discuss those at a later time. But at least they're putting information out, and it says only rain you can help prevent stormwater pollution. And stormwater pollution is a real big problem around here, particularly the storm sewers going into the bays. And that's what I say. Like I say, after a big rain around here, we have a great spike in the amount of E. coli bacteria that are in the water system. Now that's the one that's associated with fecal material. They blame it on possums, cats, and dogs and stuff. And what I'm afraid of, with the amount of money we've got to pay to clean up our streets around here and repair those, then if we've got sewer line problems and those are connected into the storm water and it's being washed out into the bay, then we do have a very large problem, which could be upwards to another $1 billion to rip up all of the sewer lines around here and repair those. And then they've got a little brochure over here too about grass clippings, okay? And it says disposing of yard waste. Now on the back it says it's a crime. Did you know that? Failure to keep your street curbs and gutters or sidewalks clean, failure to keep city rights of way clean, or intentionally blowing or sweeping grass clippings into the streets or gutters, all are misdemeanors and can be subject to fines up to $22,000 per violation per day. So, you know, and then I see the city blowing stuff out there into the streets when their contractors come and mow the grass along Ocean and so forth and so on. And I see a lot of my neighbors just blowing crap out into the street. And I guess they don't realize that that is a crime. It's a misdemeanor. So please don't do that, folks. You know, I blow mine back, not out of the street, anything that goes in. I blow the clippings back up on the yard. And it may look a little bit terrible for a day or two until the clippings get dispersed back down into the grass. But, you know, at least I'm trying to be legal, and we don't have all that big biomass load in the storm water and in the bays after it does rain. Okay? And then questions or concerns, and this is stormwater, another brochure. Water utility stormwater. What is stormwater? Okay, that means the rain that goes down. And then our storm drains are collecting garbage. This is another thing. People still won't refrain from throwing bags down in the streets and bottles and cans and all kinds of trash. And that when it rains, that goes down the storm sewers and out into the bay. And then the fish have to do it. See, this was one that's got a picture of a fish on it and says that there's no telling what's in the bays after we pollute those with all this stuff that goes into the rainwater. Okay, so I hope I have explained succinctly about the Clean Economy Coalition. We're the ones that fought off Las Brisas and saved a lot of kids' lives. It was proposed by the American Pediatric Association after they looked at the emissions that Las Brisas published and said that they were going to admit. The Pediatric Association said you're probably going to kill outright about 80 infants a year with that, and so many cardiac patients and allergies and asthma and stuff is going to run rampant. So we're glad that the Clean Economy Coalition could be a driving force in preventing Las Brisas Energy Center. And we have other concerns that I'll get on later. So I hope that was succinct enough for you to understand what I'm talking about. Now, another thing that I've done is I have taken great issue with Coastal Bend College. I take great issue all the time with Del Mar College because as a taxpayer and an educator, I don't appreciate a lot of stuff that's going on around here. Okay? And the only reason that I am real concerned is because of my, like I say, my tax dollars go to pay for the education around here in the Del Mar district, and indirectly through also to the Coastal Bend College, and I've taken great issue with them lately, and it just galls me. Now another thing that happens with these problems that these schools create is that that damages the students, folks. So I am duty bound to pay my taxes to the Del Mar College District and to the state, and both Del Mar and Coastal Bend College receive state funds and federal funds. Okay, so I'm real concerned about how this money is spent and the shenanigans that go on. Now I'm just going to say that I have a real issue, and I've been very, very vocal about this, most of you know, and this is for my friends at Coastal Bend College and for the taxpayers of the Coastal Bend College and the state taxpayers that pay their taxes that go to Coastal Bend. And I'm just really distraught with the blatant nepotism that was going on up there and is continuing to go on. And we've got people up there that say, no, it's not. And then when I read the nepotism laws of the state of Texas, then there it is. It's big black print. So I'm not going to let that go. And one thing that really galls me is there were a group of citizens up there that banded together and paid for some banners that indicated that there was nepotism going on at Coastal Bend College by the powers to be up there. And apparently the Board of Trustees members, most of them, not all of them, are asleep at the wheel up there. So several of these banners were made and paid for, which is First Amendment rights by citizens up there. And 3 yard banners disappeared, or no, 2 out of the 3 disappeared. There was a woman that was going to young lady take the third one, said she had permission, and she did not. So that was stopped. Then a large banner went up, and then that one came down, and we replaced that one with a new one that indicated that the trustees at the Coastal Bend College were apparently sanctioning and approving nepotism. Okay? Now that one disappeared within about 24 to 36 hours, never to be seen again. Now that's private property, folks, that was stolen. It was on a public site, granted, but that was the theft of a $303.10 banner. Okay? Now, where did the banner go? And who's got it? So I think that's really, really poor up there, and it does not speak well to the administration up there, the college president, her sister, the dean, and the sister's daughter, secretary now, and several of the other annex that are going on up there, and the poor treatment that a lot of the faculty members are getting at the hands of that person called the president and her sister, the dean, or dean of workforce. Okay? Now, I'm just going to say this once. I'm also concerned, and the people at Beeville can help me with this one. The president and her dean's sister have a consulting business or two up in San Antonio. And the sister does not reside as the dean of workforce and so forth. She does not work on the Beeville campus, main campus. She is in a campus up there in Pleasanton. Now, B County, I keep calling it B County. I grew up at B County College, but it's Coastal Bend College now. Has 4 campuses. The main one there with the president and most of the administrators there in Beeville. They have one in Pleasanton. They've got another one in Alice, and then they've got a 4th one down in Kingsville. And they do have nursing programs in all 4 of those. And I will get back into and tell you that when they fired one of my best friends, Dr. Eloisa Garcia up there, saying that she was double dipping the system by taking 2 days a month to go get recertified as a nurse practitioner, family nurse practitioner, and she was director of nursing. Then, and she had already cleared that prior to that when she signed her original contract. And they just went ahead because she got, I guess, had rubbed the dean, the sister dean, Miss Julia Garcia, a little bit the wrong way, so they just decided to get rid of her. Now, I've been privy to an awful lot of people who indicated that there are many other people at Coastal Bend College who had outside jobs. And one of them had a secretary that would post that the guy couldn't make his class because he was out doing his regular job. Okay, now that's double dipping, folks, and those people are still on staff up there. So it's a selective firing of people, and it's a shame. It's this the power goes to everybody's head up there, and they think that they're untouchable and so forth. But I just want to let the folks up there at Coastal Bend College and the ones that have been fired and now nursing students who've been mistreated up there, then I'm still watching, folks, and I'll hang in here with you as long as it's going to take to do that. So I hope I've expressed succinctly, and I've got documents and proof to back up every word I've said here. I don't say anything on the air in speculation. I do have the facts. So in case you're wondering and concerned about me providing the facts, then it's like the old, what was that? Jack Webb played Sergeant Friday on that show, and he said, all we want's the facts, ma'am. Okay? That's what Sergeant Friday used to say when they had the show going. It was about L.A. Police Department up there. Okay, it ran for many years, black and white television. Now I'm going to get back to, I'm not going to talk about Coastal Bend College anymore to confuse the issue. So I want to come back to Corpus Christi, Texas, and Del Mar College. I am a professor of microbiology predominantly at Del Mar College. I've been here since the fall of 1989. I've had thousands of students that I've taught over there, both chemistry, microbiology, biology, and anatomy, physiology, and so forth. And I've had a good time over there, folks. I love my job. I love the students. Now, what I've seen, and this is a fact, I have seen out of the financial reports from Del Mar College itself that out of the total budget that we get every year in funds and so forth, state, federal, and local, and tax money, then it has been demonstrated that 7 years ago, if you took the total budget, then 55 to 58% of the budget was spent directly for education, for instruction. Okay? Now, what we've got in addition to that is I have a problem with the fact, and I don't know who's at the door. Okay? I have a real problem by the fact that now, this last year in 2014, only 38% of the total budget went to the instruction, directly to instruction, to pay the instructors, professors, and so forth and so on. Now, I've noticed that every week there is an increase in the number of ads going out for administration. And I think the Wall Street Journal indicated a couple of years ago that in education like this, with the educational institutions, this bloat, this increase in the administration, they label that administrative bloat. Now that's exactly what's going on at Del Mar College. I'm asked to fill out more and more papers. I'm asked to do this, that, and the other, and all these things that are piled on top of me. They asked me to do all this special paperwork for assessment to see if my students are learning anything, and that's in addition to my grading system with tests and a final exam. Now, I've been teaching long enough, folks. I know how to assess a student and see if they've grasped the information. It's called a final exam, and the tests in between, and the laboratory exams, and so forth and so on. So why would they want to pile this garbage up on me? And I guess that funnels down, and they've got more and more people over there in the administration that are begging and asking for that information. And now we have assistants to assistants to assistants. And the whole thing that bothers me is they're cutting back on personnel, say in the registrar's office. Day after day I get disgruntled students coming to me saying, you know, I can't get this done. I can't go over there and register. So to hell with Del Mar College. I'm going to go to A&M, or I'm going to go down to Kingsville, or I'm going somewhere else except Del Mar College. And that's a good reason to explain the decrease that we've had over the last 4 or 5 years in enrollment at Del Mar College. And then we're turning around and this Board of Regents, which I think is a bunch of amateurs as far as education goes, then I tell them that to their faces, folks. I'm not afraid of that. I'll be locked out of my office one of these days, like a good friend of mine had done when he complained a little bit. But I just get tired of this constant harangue and people not paying attention. Now that brings me to the next point. Not only have we got administrative bloat, I can't get anything done. I've been trying to get a DI water system going in that building for months now, and it's stalled out. We've got too many people sitting over there in the administration building trying to make more work for me. I can't get things done that I need. I have to go out and buy distilled water to make my chemicals with. And that's not what my contract said, and that's not what most places do. They provide a faculty member with what they need to conduct the classes. And without the classes, we don't need administrators. And as far as I'm concerned, I could name you about half or better of the administrators at Del Mar College, and we don't need them at all, period. And then they go around and they fire full-time custodians, and then they hire this awful custodial service. They fire the groundskeepers, and then they go hire a groundskeeping system, and they can't cut the grass more than once a month, it doesn't seem like. The place looks like the Dickens over there. And so it's becoming totally unraveled, and nobody can do anything without 18 signatures to clear it. And when I got here, folks, we had full-time people in those positions, and if I said, hey, the John needs cleaning, it was cleaned. And I think out of the 10, 15 years, I didn't have to ask a custodian to do that. They went in and cleaned that place up. They took great pride in it and so forth. And, you know, we didn't have these problems. But it was all for saving money, and I don't think they've saved a dime. I think they're just padding somebody's pocket with these big national companies that come in and take over things like custodial and statewide that come in and take over groundskeeping. So it's a mess, folks, and that's your taxpayers' money. But to go from roughly 60% of the budget for instruction down to less than 40% in 5 or 6 years, I mean, that tells me the story, folks. Okay? Now, another thing that I do not like about the Del Mar College situation is some of our administrators are not qualified to do the job that they have been put in to do. Okay? And that goes back to the business department over there, the business and finance and so forth. Now, I've been following the books over there for quite some time. What triggered me was a discussion by the chief financial officer about write-offs, bad debt write-offs. And he had indicated to the board and to, in a, a special session, a workshop session, that he had gone to great lengths and he had exhausted all possible roads and avenues and methods to collect money that was owed Del Mar College. So I asked for copies of that, wanted to see the records, and I got a 5-foot stack of paper. And the first thing that triggered my interest was, out of that 5-foot stack of papers, were 3 documents. One of them listed $185,000 whacked and written off as bad debt. And then accompanying that was the individual companies and entities and so forth that owed that debt that was written off. And then an okay letter written by the CFO and signed off by the president to write that money off. Now, when I looked at those different entities that were written off who owed us money, Texas A&M University Kingsville was one of them. And the write-off was just over $54,000. Now, what in the world is A&M Kingsville doing owing Del Mar College $54,000? Now, this has been quite some time ago, and for at least a year now, I, along with a partner of mine, a CPA, MBA person who's been in the business, accounting business for over 30 years, Mr. Ed Bennett and I have been trying to figure out what in the world that was all about. Now, A&M Kingsville won't let us know, and then Del Mar has told us no, they don't need to let us know anything about that. So I'm going to go and I guess see if I can get the Texas Attorney General to spank them one more time. Okay? I'm just fed up with it, folks. I'm tired of being ignored with this. Now, at current, since 2007, the total debt that's been written off by you taxpayers through Del Mar College alone has been $2,838,000 and some odd cents. Okay, $2,838,000 and then some small change in the tens of thousands. Okay, so you know how long do you want to put up with that garbage? Now, when these auditors come in to Del Mar College, I think they would have been able to spot that. Now, I'm going to digress just a second. On July the 1st, no, I guess that must have been May the 1st, pardon me, April the 1st. I made a mistake on this one. It's been within the last month or so. Okay, I don't know why I miswrote that on my clipping here. Risk management. Department audit finds no fraud. Duplicated payments, late fees uncovered, and so forth. Now, this was the audit of the city's liability fund uncovered no fraud, but gaps in the risk management department's protocols and records management have raised concerns for city council members. Okay? Now, I've noticed that at Del Mar College, during board meetings, there's a whole list of checks that had been written for that particular month or that period. And I have absolutely no trustee. Actually, they're Board of Regents members. See, Coastal Bend's got trustees, and they call them regents here at Del Mar. So if I get those two mixed up, I mean one and the same. And they don't hold Del Mar College accountable. The accounting department over there, business and finance department, accountable because they don't look at the records. Now, since I've been on a tirade for a year and a half now, then some of them are paying attention, but they ignore me. And I'll get into the consequences of that in a minute. Now, one thing that sticks in my craw with this particular article, and it goes through with what the council members said and so forth and so on. They were rather upset, okay? It says, former city attorney Carlos Valdez, who resigned from the position in October 2013 to pursue political office, and he didn't make it, folks, okay, wrote in an email to the Caller-Times that he was, quote, glad that the city is addressing the inherent problems in city government. Now, when he was the district attorney down there and the city attorney, he didn't do that, okay? It is long overdue, wrote Valdez, who served as city attorney for 3 years. I hope they are doing this type of audit in every city department. Now let me tell you what happened years ago. We had a vice president of business and finance who did not invest monies in interest-bearing accounts. Either he didn't want to, was not capable of it, overlooked it, or what. But you know, when you're the captain of the ship, when you hit an iceberg, folks, you're in command of that, and you are responsible for it. Now, at that time, a PhD mathematician and myself saw some funny money going on, and I won't get into what I was doing watching that. It was out of self-preservation. And we noticed that the investments were not made, and that cost a lot of money and interest. So the two of us complained about that, particularly the mathematician. Then he was sued by that person for defamation, okay, libel and slander. And that court case went on for 7 years. Went to the 13th Court of Appeals finally, and so forth. It took the limit, and finally the court threw it out and said that he was wrongfully accused of slander and libel, and they dropped the case. Now, at the time, Carlos Valdez was district attorney, and that mathematician and I walked downtown, went down to the courthouse, and had a talk with at that time District Attorney Valdez, and told him what was going on and that we suspected that something was wrong down there, and he refused to investigate it. Then I went to the board with the mathematician, and the Board of Regents at Del Mar College said no, they weren't going to pursue that either, that we were just out of luck that the mathematician had been accused of libel, slander, and sued. Now, if I took a look at what happened, that vice president of business and finance at Del Mar College at the time, and district attorney Carlos Valdez at the time, and an attorney who was on the Board of Regents at Del Mar College, were seen frequently out dining and eating lunch together. And I don't know if they went to Las Vegas together and traveled together, but they were three extremely close friends. So why, I think that's the reason that District Attorney Valdez at the time would not investigate that. And now he's turned sanctimonious on us and said he was glad that the city is addressing the inherent problems in city government. Well, why didn't you do it at Del Mar College, which was under your purview when you were district attorney, Mr. Valdez? And Mr. Attorney, you know which attorney I'm talking about. If you hear this, sir, you know who I'm talking about. The three caballeros, tres amigos. And, you know, I three friends just don't cut it. And now we're turning sanctimonious with this. So I hope that Mr. Valdez will take a look at this, and if you don't like it, just suck it up, Mr. Valdez. And why didn't you do the same studies down there when you were city attorney? Okay. Now another thing that I've done is I'm very concerned at Del Mar College. I hope that wraps up that portion, and the facts are there. I've got the facts if anybody wants to come and ask me about that. Now, I have been following the attorney's billings to Del Mar College for quite some time. So what I do every 3, 4, 5 months is I will file a Public Information Act request through Texas Codes 552 and ask for the billings and the verbiage that goes with that, the documentation of the billings from 4 groups of attorneys that are hired by Del Mar College to take care of legal matters. Okay? Now, one of them is a local firm, which Mr. Augustin Rivera belongs to, and another one is a local firm that doesn't bill too much. I don't know what their play is sometimes, except they aid a little bit with Mr. Rivera, and another attorney's firm. Now we've got 2 attorney firms that are out of state, out of town. One of them, a lady that went to school with my president, Dr. Mark Escamilla, Miss Cynthia Cano. She has her own, I guess, private firm up there in San Antonio. And then the big one, the big money maker, is Graves Daughtry and 2 other people out of Austin. Okay? So the last time I asked for these records from them, I'm getting a runaround from our HR department, Human Resources Department, which has taken over the Public Information Act request. Okay, so let me just read this one to you. It's real simple. So I want you to know what I'm going through with this, and I do this to protect my money, and I am the president of the Corpus Christi Taxpayers Association, who's getting really rather weary of all of this runaround. Okay, but on this one, I said, through my rights under the Texas Public Information Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 552, I am hereby requesting that a time, location, and so forth, I want to know, and I want to be able to inspect any and all documents, emails, notes, phone calls, audio recordings, or video recordings pertaining to the following items and subjects. I am requesting the ability to review any and all billing records, in parentheses, invoices, presented to Del Mar College by attorney Cynthia Cano and or her partners, law firm, and or their assigns between October 1st, 2014, and the date of this request. And I'm requesting the ability to review any and all checks written to Miss Cynthia Cano and or her partners and so forth between October and the date of this letter, which was March 23rd. I am requesting the ability to review any and all contracts. Okay? Now, after that, I get this back from our executive director of Human Resources and Administration, and the college's Public Information Act officer. Okay? And this was sent to me, certified return receipt. And it says, thank you for the Public Information Act. I know that's hard for them to swallow. They don't thank me for that at all. It says the information you requested contains a credit card, debit card, charge card, or access device number that is collected, assembled, or maintained by or for a governmental body. This information is confidential under Section 552.136 of the Texas Government Code. Our office is prohibited by law from releasing this information to you, and therefore we have redacted this information from the enclosed information we are providing to you for review. Okay? Now this one, for a change, was in a timely manner. Okay? Because my request was made on March 23rd, and this was April 6th, so that's pretty close to the 10 working days. Okay? Now the same garbage came back from me with the credit cards and stuff. I'm not so sure I understand what that's all about all of a sudden. They've never pulled that on me before. in 2 years of asking for this information, but I'm going to find out. Okay? And this one was the request I made for the same information, billing records and so forth, from, let's see, Attorney Augustin Rivera in his law firm here. I think it's Dunn, Weatherford, and Rivera and some other people. Okay? He is the board's attorney down here. So what are they doing with credit card, debit card, and charge card stuff? Information in there. I don't understand that unless we're paying them automatically instead of by check anymore. And then I asked for one for Graves. Let's see. Yeah, this was Graves Daughtry. And it says, in response to your PIA request, the college is seeking an Attorney General opinion for some of the responsive documents. On behalf of Del Mar College and under separate cover, you will receive a copy of a letter concerning request for an AG opinion from the law firm of Graves, Daughtry, Heron, and Moody. This is the real expensive ones up there in Austin, okay? And then also has a symbol responsive documents pursuant to my request, with the exception of documents that are related to requesting an AG's opinion. So I did get this letter from Graves Daughtry to the Attorney General's office saying that they would like to a ruling regarding the request for public information attached to this letter, which was mine. Okay. The college asserts that the requested information is accepted from disclosure. Now, they don't say that it's the credit card numbers and stuff that need to be redacted. They just say that the whole information is the way I read it as a poor dumb country boy. Okay, that you know, they just want to withhold everything from me. Let's stall it out. So my question is, what is in those documents and in their billings that is damaging to them and to me, possibly Del Mar College? I'm going to speculate, and I'll ask a question of anybody out there. Could it have been anything to do with the Texas Board of Nursing and the problems that we've got with the firing of Dr. Janelle Bennett a couple of years ago, and some other major problems we've got? I don't know. And then here's one that was Hoblet, Ferguson, Darling. That's a local firm here. And they say they have no information available. So I guess that company did not bill anything, or they would have to give me the longer version of all that. Okay? All right, now, so I don't know when I'm going to get that information. That's taxpayers' information. Would you like to know what you're spending your dollars for, tax dollars, for hiring out-of-town firms? I do know that Graves Daughtry and the rest of them were the ones that did the real estate transactions when they bought this 95 acres out, and they meaning Del Mar College, the 95 acres out at Robstown, excuse me, not Robstown, but Yorktown and Rod Field. Okay? Now another thing that happened, my partner, Ed Bennett, I had some problems over there at Del Mar College. I've been accused of being insubordinate and not responding to any of the emails that I sent to my department chair and so forth and so on. So rather than me ask for this, Mr. Bennett went ahead in my behalf and did that, and it says that he wanted any and all documents, letters, and memos, telephone logs associated with justifying an establishment of an out-of-sequence biology course. Now, after I had the chair say that he wants to give me a disciplinary action letter in my personnel file, which, you know, I'm not going to comment on that. Part of that was due to the fact that I run the microbiology, the majors class, once a year in the fall. And what happened over there was there's a professor that thinks he can do so much better job with everything over there with his golly gee whiz stuff. And they ran an out-of-sequence micro class. They had a whopping 14 students out of the 24 limit that goes on that. the professor that was going to teach it, in order to get enough students to make it, it has to be 12 or better, waived all prerequisites, chemistry and the freshman biology class that is critical for them to know information about, and they ran the course. And then there was a bunch of money spent to buy equipment for that and so forth, which I'd go and make it myself, all the solutions and growth media and so forth. Saved that college an estimated $120,000 a year by my efforts on Fridays and weekends and early mornings and stuff, making my own stuff up. But and I think it's been bandied around about 14 grand was spent for 14 students on that out of sequence, and it'll probably screw up the enrollment for the fall semester. I can't say that unequivocally yet, but I think what's going to happen is I'm not going to get the 22 to 24 students I normally do, so what we've done is we paid for the class twice for about the same number of students to get through. And I think as a taxpayer you ought to be all upset about that too. Okay? But I'm not privileged like some are over there. Okay, so I asked for this, and can you believe that there was no justification? It says item number 1 of your request, responsive documents provided. Okay, well it was a couple of emails and an ad for the course. Then number 2, documents and so forth, the cost of the equipment and supplies. And it says item 2, no responsive documents. So you mean to tell me through the ordering process and so forth and so on, through our biology department and so forth, and Division of Arts and Sciences, they can't tell anybody how much it costs to run that out of sequence class? Now, are you going to believe that? Are you going to bite into that? I don't know. And then I asked for existing documentations that all students had complied with the suggested course prerequisites. It says responsive documents provided for total student enrollment. No responsive documents, and all students had completed the suggested course prerequisites. Well, I know for a fact that some of them had not. And then number 4, I wanted to, they hired a teaching assistant, they call a woman, to do the labs for the man that's teaching it, and he's getting paid to do the labs himself also, so there's an added cost because he won't get in there and do his own labs. And then he's taking a lot of trips all over the place and got people taking over his class. And he's still getting paid full price. Plus we pay these extra people to do it. So something smells real bad there, folks, and I hope you'll back me up as a taxpayer association, as a taxpayer, and get that done. Now, Mr. Bennett also had requested some information about the documents and so forth, the financial statements and so forth. Finally got a little bit perturbed about the big delays that were put into that, which is illegal under the Public Information Act. Okay, so he protested that, and I'm going to read this. I've got his permission, and this went from Ken Paxton, Attorney General of Texas, to one Mrs. Tammy McDonald, Executive Director, Human Resources and so forth, and she's the same one that monkeys around and delays these Public Information Act requests. And this was a big one here, folks. Real delays on this one. It says the Office of the Attorney General has received a complaint from Mr. Ed Bennett alleging Del Mar College has failed to respond appropriately to a request for information. The complaint was designated and assigned a certain ID number. The Public Information Act, Chapter 552 of the Government Code, requires a governmental body to release requested public information that it collects, assembles, maintains, or has right of access to, or to request a ruling from this office as to the applicability of exceptions to the Act. Our records do not indicate a request for any Attorney General's decision has been made in accordance with Section 552.301 of the Act. So they didn't do that. They just delayed it, folks. Okay? And that is not legal. Okay? The OAG has civil enforcement authority under the Act. Although our office takes that responsibility seriously, we prefer to work with the parties to try to resolve complaints informally if at all possible. Okay? The easiest way to resolve this open records complaint is to release the information that was requested, provided the requested information is not confidential by law. Please contact the Education and Enforcement section of the Open Records Division within 10 days at these numbers to discuss resolution of the situation. If the requested information has been or will be released to the requester, please so indicate by completing the top portion of the attached certification form. In the alternative, if you have no information responsive to the request, please so indicate by completing the second portion of the attached form. Similarly, if you believe the responsive information is accepted from disclosure and have requested or will request an Attorney General's opinion, please indicate that on the attached form. And then it can be sent here and there. Now, the Attorney General is spanking them in one vein with that, folks. But then again, you know, here we go. They're going to try to, as a public institution, the Attorney General's office is going to try to protect anybody that violates the rules and give them a second choice. You know, well, you know, we may not let you watch that last hour of television tonight, Delmar. You know, just spank. We're going to spank your hands, and you go ahead and let's see if we can get you into compliance with this. Okay. So, I don't know. And then, like I say, here's the ad for get to work with fungi from an Apollo moon mission. Okay? Now, this was the ad to run that out of sequence thing, and that's the kind of golly gee whiz crap they're going to do. You know, I don't know how many fungi you're going to find from an Apollo moon mission, folks, except maybe some athlete's foot fungus off of an astronaut somewhere. I don't know. So I hope I've enlightened you. Then I'd like to say that I did, on the way down to the Earth Day Bay Day activities at Heritage Park yesterday, I went ahead for the first time. I've been reluctant to drive down Shoreline because I'm totally disgusted with that whole thing there. I read article after article, letter to the editor after letter to the editor about how lousy that 6 to 4 lane is now. So I decided just to go ahead on the way down to Heritage Park and go that way. And I was appalled, folks. I'm still not seeing anything done where they went for Destination Bayfront. I will admit that I came up with the No Destination Bayfront signs, and we killed that one, thank goodness. A group of us, Taxpayers Association, was very instrumental in that also. And I'm still under lawsuit from the city of Corpus Christi, and they want me to pay up $30,000, well, 4 or 5 of us to pay $30,000 for halting the demolition of the Coliseum down there when they decided to demolish it for real estate purposes, so we can make all our real estate buddies around here a fortune or two, including Mayor Adami at the time. Okay, and we still have what I consider to be a real estate cartel at City Hall. The whole council are real estate. So there are a multitude. So if you haven't seen that thing, and it is an abortion, I think, down there, and then go down and do it. And then on the next show, I've got a file on the comments that were made about that reroute and other things around. Then I'll also, there's been some articles these days about oil field workers face transition. Oils fall, okay, pause, fuels coastal bend worries. Jobs growth could falter, analysis say. So we're gearing up for all this population boom we're supposed to get with Delmar campuses out south and all this other stuff around town. And the oil patches has got some problems. It cycles through every few years. You'd think that anybody that was on city council or paying attention around here locally would know what goes on. It goes way up and then it goes way down. So I'll be right back. Hey ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. This is on YouTube. Go to YouTube and put in Gerald Sansing in the newest edition, and the old editions will come up. I've tried to make it real slow today and not to confuse different issues and bounce around. That's for Sergeant Friday out there. and just trying to take it easy, make sure that I don't get ahead of myself, and explain what's going on. I'm a taxpayer. I'm concerned about this. I'm concerned about my kids' futures in this town, and so forth and so on. So that's the main reason I do this. I'm asked at times. I'm not just a mean old guy, I hope, but that's the reason for it. So good night. Talk to y'all next week.